All right, all right, all right. We got a good one. We got a good one, guys. We got a good one. So I'm going to go in. I am going to go in on this whole insulin, cortisol, blood sugar thing. I'm gonna go in on it because it needs to be broken down so it can't forever and consistently be broke. And so we have insulin, we have cortisol, and then we have these other hormones that balance blood sugar, right? And in that past series, I lightly touched upon what happens when those hormones are out of whack and your blood sugar is way too high or way too low, or your insulin is way too high or way too low, and the crashes that your body goes through when these things are out of whack. Now, when this becomes chronic, meaning repetitively over a long period of time, your body goes into a metabolic state, which is called diabetes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So in this video or series, however this pans out, I want to break down diabetes the same way we broke down insulin, cortisol, and blood sugar. All right. So buckle up. Buckle up. All right. Diabetes. Diabetes is a chronic metabolic condition where the body cannot effectively regulate blood sugar or blood glucose. Remember, gluc or glyc has to do with the blood, or when you hear hemo or gluc or glyc, that has to do with the blood. And the os has to do with the sugar. ACE has to do with enzymes, but that's a longer story. To understand it, you have to look at the relationship between your primary fuel, glucose, and the hormonal management team, insulin and cortisol. That dictates where that fuel goes. So, like we touched on, think of your metabolism as a seesaw. On one side, insulin, which lowers blood sugar. On the other side, cortisol, which raises it. Insulin is the storage key, produced by the pancreas, which is the gland attached to the stomach, on the lower part of the stomach. Produced by the pancreas, insulin is the key that unlocks your cells. When you eat, it activates when you eat. When you eat, blood sugar rises, and insulin is released to move that sugar out of the bloodstream and into your cells for energy, or into the liver and muscles for storage. This is what fuels your body. This is how your body is fueled when you eat. This is very key. Very key. Now let's look at cortisol. Cortisol, the energy liberator, produced by the adrenal glands in the kidneys. Renal meaning kidneys. Adrenal meaning adding to the kidney. It's an addition to the kidneys. The adrenal glands. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Its job is to ensure you have enough energy to handle a threat, the fight or flight response. It does this by signaling the liver to dump stored glucose back into the blood and making cells temporarily resistant to insulin so that the glucose stays available for the brain and muscles. So when we store blood sugar, what happens? We get fat. That's right. All right. So be sure, let's manage our cortisol, right? Let's keep our cortisol low, right? Keep our stress low. Okay. Very good. So when the cortisol is activated, it's resistant to insulin, so that you can store blood sugar for more energy later on. So that we don't want that, right? The only time we want our cortisol to be high is when we're working out, because we need the energy to work out. Other than that, you don't want your cortisol to be high, right? All right. And then, of course, when you're working out, you don't want to work out too hard to spike the cortisol too high. And then, balance, moderation. That's what the body is all about. All right. So the conflict. If you're under chronic stress, high cortisol, and eating. So if you're highly stressed and eating a lot and eating frequent high carb meals, and that's key. You can eat. I mean, even if you eat a lot of protein in low portions, you're doing good. But eating frequent high carb meals and chronic stress, your cells are being bombarded by conflicting signals. Eventually, the locks in your cells wear out. This is insulin resistance. The pancreas pumps out more insulin to compensate, but the sugar remains stuck in the blood, leading to type 2 diabetes. Now let's get into the types of diabetes, and I want to show you the levels, because it can be confusing. You'll hear type 1, type 2, like pre-diabetes, like what? It doesn't make sense, right? Well, let's make sense of it. That's why we're here. Okay, so there are different types of diabetes, right? There's gestational diabetes, I think in relation to pregnancy, and then there's diabetic diabetes. Don't quote me. But we're only going to focus on pre-diabetes, type 2, and type 1. We're going to focus on the the regular diabetes, the basic diabetes. Pre-diabetes is a warning track where blood sugar is higher than normal but not yet at diabetic levels. And so this is in regards to, like, you know, your A1C1 readings, and I'm going to get into that also in how, when you go to the doctor's office, how to tell from the reports what your blood sugar is looking like, and so on and so forth. But pre-diabetes is the warning, right? Or when they say you're pre-diabetic. This is why my brother who's in the medical field, he was like, you know, that's bullcrap. You know, you're either diabetic or you're not. But once again, if you're chronically eating high carb foods, which I was at the time, then you're susceptible to diabetes. That's why being labeled as pre-diabetic is healthy for your psychology, because it's like, okay, you know, the red light is blinking, you know, we need to turn the tide here, you know what I mean? So yeah, pre-diabetes is the warning label, you know, for the blood sugar. Then after once you become diabetic, first you become type 2. Type 2, it goes from pre-diabetic to type 2, then to type 1. This is where I got confused in just common everyday life, like just from common knowledge, until I read into it. So for type 2 diabetes, it's metabolic, where the body still makes insulin, but the cells don't respond to it correctly. The cells don't respond to it correctly because your blood sugar is so high. This is the most common form, 90 to 95% of cases, and is closely linked to lifestyle, diet, and chronic stress. So, and here's another myth to dispel. Being diabetic has nothing to do with being fat. It has everything to do with blood sugar. Now, once again, if you're resisting insulin, being fat is a correlation to diabetes, but not every diabetic is fat. My uncle passed away from pancreatic cancer due to diabetes, and he was 2 pounds soaking wet. You see what I mean? So it's really lifestyle, diet, and chronic stress. You know what I mean? And it really has nothing to do with being obese. Obesity just makes you more susceptible, but there are other factors to your obesity than just insulin and cortisol management. Let me not digress. So we talked about pre-diabetes, then type 2, and now over time, your pancreas gives up. Your pancreas shuts down, and now you become type 1. Type 1. This is what you don't want. This is the terminal diabetes, pretty much, where it's like you have to spend the rest of your life in treatment. And we're going to talk about the different types of treatments as well. So the immune system mistakenly destroys the insulin producing cells in the pancreas. It destroys and this is how, like what my uncle suffered, the pancreatic cancer, because the cells were destroyed. It made it cancerous, and it kind of spread throughout his body. The immune system mistakenly destroys the insulin producing cells in the pancreas. The body produces little to no insulin. So that means you have no energy. Your blood sugar is high and you have no energy because the insulin isn't activating the blood sugar into the cells of your body. This requires lifelong insulin therapy. And then we're going to talk about the different types of medical treatments. Now let's look at the symptoms. The warning signs, and so on. Let's get into that. When sugar can't get into cells, it builds up in the blood, right? Causing the following: polyuria and polydipsia, frequent urination, and extreme thirst, as the kidneys try to flush out excess sugar. So when your blood sugar is too high, your kidneys work in overdrive, and the kidneys are what keeps your body hydrated. The kidneys retain salt and flush out salt. And then this is how that salt buildup creates kidney stones. That's another topic. But it also flushes out the salt, but it also flushes out the sugar. That's why foods high in sodium and high in sugar are typically bad for you. And if you don't know how to read the label, you won't know that the food is either high in sugar or high in salt, which overworks your kidneys, and that's why some people go into kidney failure. So these are some of the symptoms of diabetes. Polyphagia, the intense hunger because your cells are starving despite the high blood sugar. So you notice when people eat a very high carb diet, a lot of breads and sugars and cakes, they're always hungry, and they have to eat these big, huge meals, and then they stuff their faces until they fall asleep, right? It's because their cells are starving. They're eating all of this high blood sugar food, but the body can't process it quick enough. The hormones, insulin and cortisol, can't process it. The insulin can't process the blood sugar quick enough to satiate them, and this is why they're always hungry. you see, and this is a symptom of diabetes. Also, fatigue, general exhaustion from lack of cellular energy. You have you're typically exhausted because not because you're overworked, but because you just haven't processed the blood sugar. You have too much blood sugar for the body to process, and the body has to work in overdrive, and so you're fatigued. You know, blurred vision. High sugar levels pull fluid from the lenses of your eyes, affecting focus. This is interesting. I've been wearing glasses the majority of my life, and I don't know if poor vision is just a hereditary thing, but I do know that I am aware that diabetes does run in my family. So this is something I might be, keen on. But my vision has pretty much maintained. I wear the same prescription every pair I get. So I don't know. But blurred vision, yes, that's crazy to me. But yeah, you can go blind from diabetes because high sugar levels pull fluid from the lenses of your eyes, affecting focus. It's I say it's crazy. Well, really, what I'm saying is it's terrifying. When we've been going through our lives, just ignorantly of all of this and how this stuff is affecting us. And I'm speaking for myself, really. Slow healing. High blood sugar impairs circulation and the immune system's ability to repair tissue. Yeah, and you have, I think, do not quote me, but some people complain about being anemic, and when they get cut, it never scabs up. And that has to do with the iron in their blood, the iron deficiency. But it's one thing to be anemic, but then if you're diabetic, it's like your immune system is just slow altogether. So what? It's not even an issue of iron, So you have to look at these things. Now here's the meat and potatoes. This is what I want to get into. The A1C. You hear it all the time when people talk about their blood sugar and their diabetes. A1C. What's your A1C? I finally broke it down. I'm finally breaking it down so it can forever and consistently be broke. Let's talk about it. So, in the context of diabetes, an A1C test, also known as the hemoglobin A1C or HbA1c, measures your average blood sugar levels over the past 2 to 3 months. And there's a reason for that. Check this out. This is interesting. Unlike a standard finger prick test that shows your blood sugar at a single moment. I remember my mom doing that when she was pregnant with my baby brother. The A1C provides a big picture of how well your body has been managing glucose over a longer period. So it's basically a better reading than pricking your finger. How it works. This is what I did not know. So the glucose, the sugar in the blood, naturally sticks to hemoglobin, a protein in your red blood cells. Here's why you have to get the average over some months. The red blood cells live for about 3 months. So you have to get. That's why when you get the first blood test, you have to come back and get the next one. The A1C test measures the percentage of these cells that have become sugar coated or glycated. That's the word, glycate. Remember, the word glyc has to do with the blood or blood sugar. So when you hear glyc or gluc, that's blood sugar. So when the cells have become glycated or sugar coated, this is the A1C test measures the percentage. The higher your blood sugar has been, the more glucose attaches to the hemoglobin, resulting in a higher A1C percentage. So basically the percentage of your blood that is glycated is your. So when they draw the blood, they find the percentage of it that's glycated. So if you have. So let's say if you're diabetic, above 6.5% of your blood is glycated. That's too high. You have too much blood sugar, and your insulin hasn't processed. Because if your insulin was processing that blood sugar, that percentage would come down because the insulin. Remember, the insulin is the key.